So, hello everybody, and welcome this evening to this live event. We'll just wait a couple of seconds because there's always some people who join a little bit later on. But I'll just introduce myself. So I'm William, Communications Manager here at CareerFoundry. CareerFoundry is basically, as some of you may know, it's an online education company. We have career change programs where we take people from scratch and we teach them in-demand skills and help them to get the job of their dreams, hopefully. We offer courses in UX design, UI design, web development, and data analytics. So they're our main career change programs. We also have a massive community now. We have 3,000 students, graduates, mentors, tutors, and career specialists. So it's a big team. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're working remotely, so we've also had to change our business operations, but we are still working through, and we've got more students than ever before. This evening, I'm super excited because we've got two students here who've done the programs, Júlia and Frank, both based in Berlin. So Júlia is a Berlin-based UX UI designer and former founder of artconnect.com. And Frank is a Berlin-based UI designer with a background in broadcast media. So it's always a pleasure to welcome CareerFoundry students to this show that we have this evening, and welcome to everybody who's watching. But I don't want to introduce our guests. I always think it's better that our guests introduce themselves. So let's hear from the guests. So I don't know, I'll just pick Júlia first. Maybe you just want to introduce, say hello to everybody, and just maybe tell who you are and how you came to CareerFoundry.
Hi everyone, I'm Júlia, and as you said, I'm a UX UI designer based in Berlin. I actually come from Barcelona, but I've been here for 12 years. And a few years ago, I was not 100% sure that I wanted to keep on working on my company, and I had the opportunity to sell it. During this time, in the period of transition in which I was selling it, I realized that everything I wanted to do was related to product. And I was working partly as a UX designer, and I realized that was everything I wanted to do all the time, but that I didn't have enough technical knowledge or methodology to do it as well as I wanted. So after I sold it, I talked to the Agentur for Arbeit, and it was clear for me that I wanted to do CareerFoundry because for what I found online was the best program that I could find, and on top of that, the Agentur for Arbeit would pay for it. So I decided to take it, and now I am here.
Mm-hmm. Just for those listening, the Agentur für Arbeit is essentially the German employment center, so agency. That's where you can go if you want to get retrained, or if you're unemployed in Germany. That's your kind of first port of call where you would go to get a training voucher, which is in German is called a Bildungsgutschein. So now I will pass over to Frank also to introduce himself.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for having me, first of all. I did the UI design bootcamp. My name is Frank Eckenbrecht. I do live in Berlin, as mentioned already. And I came here because I wanted to work in the media business, whatever that meant at the time when I started out. And then I went through different stations, from radio to television. And then I got into, so the technical work I did at television was really, it was a technical work, it was camera and sound techniques work, but I wanted to go more into creative work. So I tried to do that in my company, but that quickly ended at some point because they didn't have a real area where I could work in. And then I searched for opportunities. And I actually got recommended the course from CareerFoundry from my boyfriend. He found it online. And I'm a very critical person, I would say. So I did lots of research. I asked other people, and I even went to CareerFoundry in person to talk to them. And it really, it was, I thought it's a good course. So I was really excited to start it. And I was not disappointed, to say so much.
Mm-hmm. And the great thing is that Frank and Júlia actually are not strangers to each other. They know each other because they organize a monthly meetup here in Berlin which is the Design and Friends, which was a little bit easier before, but now has to be, I don't know, with the Corona rules, there's also some social distancing involved in that. Let's move on to maybe a first question that lots of people ask, but it's kind of a general question, but what was important to you in choosing a bootcamp? So what exactly were you looking for, and why would you think about doing a bootcamp in the first place? And this question I will ask, I'll ask Frank this time first.
Okay, thank you. I think a bootcamp was a really nice new way of learning for me. So when I first got in touch with the idea of a bootcamp, I just basically Googled what it is and what it does. And I think the modern way of teaching really intrigued me, because I have been to university once, which was not so successful for me and which was also really exhausting. I like the idea of doing it online and having my own pace of work. And also this tutor-mentor concept was great for me, because I really like the idea to have people you can exchange knowledge with and to that get back at you when you hand it in an exercise. So also this kind of personal contact. It felt really personal with CareerFoundry, although it was just an online thing. And that you get out a portfolio at the end, which I knew is really important to work in design. You need a portfolio to get a job.
That's true. All the career change programs at CareerFoundry basically have a dual mentorship model where you get paired with a mentor and a tutor. So you're not in the course or program on your own. You have this kind of industry experts at your side who you can who mark your work, but also you can talk to about the industry. And also it's important when you go into the kind of the interviews and stuff. But I would also ask the same questions to Júlia. What were you looking for in a bootcamp and why?
Well, I wasn't sure it was going to be an online thing. I just wanted to learn UX. And I was looking at different options, but I realized I never really liked sitting and listening to someone as a traditional way of learning. So I realized I was not really up for that. And then I moved on to online. And I really liked how CareerFoundry would show how to learn, like by reading. I've always been a self-learner, so I really liked how the information was presented. It was very important for me that the curriculum was very complete, because I didn't want to have to take another course later. I wanted to have a course in which after that I could call myself a UX designer. Yeah, I mean, it was important that it was flexible. I have kids, so it was important that I could learn whenever I wanted. For me, it was important that it didn't take so long. I was about to take another course that would take 3 months, but then the curriculum was not so complete. So I decided to go finally for CareerFoundry, because even though it was 6 months, at the end, you'd learned a lot. So that was the most important thing.
And what experience were you bringing to the course beforehand? So what was your kind of like background in? Maybe you could just elaborate a little bit on your previous experience.
Me, well, I studied fine arts, but I moved on to managing and design pretty quickly. I mean, I did a lot of things before. I did work for an artist, for several artists, managing studios. I learned how to develop HTML websites just for making extra cash. And then after that, I had the crazy idea to create Arconnect, and I learned product design and communications just to make it work. And it seems like it worked. So yeah, but I mainly at the company, I did a lot of agency work, digital products and communications, and a lot of product management. And actually I did do all the web design, all the UX and UI, but not in a very conscious way or methodical way. So, yeah,
I think that's one thing we also say to our students, is that actually, although you don't think it, lots of people already have a lot of soft skills and transferable skills that they bring with them to the course beforehand, which will also help you throughout. So it's not just what you have on the course, but everybody brings something to it. But I would also pass the question over to Frank. Maybe Frank, you could just elaborate a little bit on your background before you jumped in everything CareerFoundry.
Yeah, I would want to talk a little about what Júlia just said. I think that it's great that you have that background, and I think it was for you a very logical step. I do think that some people now might be a little scared or afraid of, like, I don't have any experience and I do the course anyway. How high are my chances? I do think that it's not dependent on what background you have, because my background, if you think of television, it sounds creative, but for me, it hasn't been creative ever. Like I had a very small part of visual screen design I learned. I did get in contact with some very complicated software, which is not to compare with Sketch or Figma, for example. So for me, it was like working in a really huge industry with huge tools, which are so expensive. And you, in the end, work mostly on that it functions, that it works, like the technical things take up so much time and space. And this is why I wanted to work more creative. For me, the UI design course was really new. The idea of user experience was really new. Also the visual design part, so I learned about grid setting and typography, and I really like that. I want to work in this industry and I want to improve my skills there, but I just can say that one should not be so afraid of doing something very different.
Yeah, I have to say, I've seen some colleagues of mine who started being, I don't know, like mechanical engineers become in 6 months like amazing UX designers. Like, I mean, I've seen the transformation being possible. I mean, Frank has an amazing portfolio, so.
Thank you. Yeah, Júlia just told me about that friend from the technical background before, which really helped me feeling more confident actually for this talk, because she said, I've seen people that are completely off topic and they also managed. So it helped me to feel like more secure and more like a designer in the end.
One question I've got for both of you, and it's a question that we also get asked a lot, is about time management. So how you kind of deal, with whatever's going on in your life, but also trying to fit in the program around, your daily schedule. Some people have commitments, family, other financial concerns. So how did you go about scheduling the course? Were you quite strict with yourselves? I'll ask this question to Júlia first.
Well, I started the course on the 16th of March, exactly on the day that the Kitas were not open anymore. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, that was fun. So it was a huge struggle because the course, when you do it full time, it is really full time, and my husband was working too, so we had to make a very strict schedule. And into it, I had to do quite a bit of evenings. Our kids had to watch a little bit too much TV, to be honest. But we made it through. We were just we had to be constant, and to be honest, that was not that difficult, because the fact that you have a tutor and a mentor, and that you get to know other people through the course, through the Slack channels. Yeah, you're within this community, and you get emotional support from all of these people that help you push further. And plus, you have a contract with Agentur that tells you have to submit 3 exercises a week. So it's not like you have many other options. But I think that if you just get organized and with the emotional support that you get, it's totally doable. I mean, I've done it, so anyone else can.
Júlia's mentioned a very good point, is that each, as a student on CareerFoundry, you don't only get paired with your mentor and tutor, but we also have an active Slack community. So all of students which start in your cohort, you can reach out to them, and it's great to have this network, especially as a junior or a mid-level UI, UX designer going into the industry. You already kind of have a network which you take forward. And also, as some of you know, when you're doing courses at maybe at university, it's also great to have some buddies who've done the course or doing the course with you, because if you ever get stuck, you can also ask your peers, how they're getting along, or what they found tricky, or maybe what they didn't find tricky. But I would also ask the same question to Frank. How did you go about managing your time whilst you were on the program?
Okay, so to answer the question first, and then I want to say something about the Slack community also. I think I'm really bad at time management, and I think I am still bad.
I love the honesty.
But I learned a lot in the course and from my mentor, from the student advisors, which I always try to reach out to. This is one point. So if you feel stuck, or if you're nervous, or if something just doesn't work out, talk to people. I was always so scared to say that I'm failing or feel like I didn't do enough. But as soon as I reached out to one of the student advisors, they gave me tips, and they said that it's normal, or that everybody struggles sometimes. And that just helps to have other people support you. And for the Slack channel, there were those study buddy pairings where we get in contact with other students, and we made a small learning group out of it. We didn't do so much learning in the group, but also this 1 or 2 hours a week or every 2 weeks helped to not feel alone and to not feel like you didn't do enough. So because you heard from one person, yeah, I did 3 exercises last night, and then the other person said I didn't do something for 1 week. So you got kind of in the middle between them and felt like, okay, I'm normal. It's okay what I do. And yeah, that is really helpful. Another thing about time management, what helps me a lot is having a daily routine. So I'm usually getting up at 7 or 7:30. That is just my regular getting up time. I don't try to force me to stand up earlier, and I don't try to force me to do anything I don't want. If I'm hungry at 11 or 12, then I eat something. I stop for that. And I think that is really important, to not make a schedule and really try to stick to the schedule, because you will run out of energy very fast. You have to plan time for doing something that is for you, for your body, for your mind. And the calendar still helped me. So I try to block time in my calendar where I work. That was a tip from my mentor. But I don't stick to it like iron, like it is necessary. If it doesn't work out, if I don't want to, then I just skip it. But I have it in my calendar, and I know that. So that puts kind of pressure on you.
We also say to our students, and also if you follow, I'm going to shamelessly plug the CareerFoundry Instagram channel, because we also have tips and tricks there. But we also say that building in time within your calendar is a great way to box off learning time. But also to build in treats, because once you finish a couple of tasks, treat yourself to something, because you've got to work towards bite-sized goals. And once you reach those goals, you're going to progress through the program. Let's talk a little bit more kind of real experiences. Were there any challenges that you first had when you started the course, getting up to speed? Did you find that, I found this a little bit tricky starting off, or were there any areas where you thought, okay, I'm not too sure about this? Maybe just talk about some of the challenges. And this time I'll start with Frank.
At first, I would say I didn't have so many challenges, because it was really easy to understand how the course works, and there was a lot of support from CareerFoundry, so you get started quite fast. Also, the exercises were still very manageable. But then when you're in the course for a little while, then you start to get a little lazy, or then you start to push things back to the weekend, and it goes easy fast. So the first achievement for me was really easy to achieve, but then it gets hard, and there will be a lot of work to do. And so my tip would be to try to not work off very fast in the beginning when you're motivated, and then you will need time to reorder your thoughts. Yeah, and to get up to speed. So.
And Júlia?
I don't know a specific challenge. I mean, for me, the the whole thing was a challenge because of the particular situation that I had at home. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't know what to say. I mean, it was challenging because you had to study a lot. What was challenging was to read all of the extra articles that I was given. Read, and it was challenging to find time for myself. But at the same time, to be honest, I took the decision to give up on all the other stuff that I used to read, like I give up on politics completely. So I quit politics for 6 months and I just read UX design. I stopped doing a lot of other things. That was the biggest challenge for me. I'm sure that people without kids still have time to do other stuff, but for me, I just had time for family and the course. So that was tough. It was tough, but then this summer when I finished, it was an amazing feeling because I had achieved something, and all I did was I went paddle surfing. I was so motivated by the subject of the app I developed that I just went to the beach every day. So yeah, I mean, it gave me it was challenging, but it gave me it was a huge reward. So I'm happy that I gave up so many things for a specific time.
For anybody that's listening this evening, there are lots and lots of articles and material on the CareerFoundry blog, also about starting out, doing the course, and there's more information about Bildungsgutschein and also the Agentur for Arbeit, and we will be sending information afterwards, so don't worry about that. One of the key takeaways from our programs is the portfolio, and it is kind of your calling card as a designer. So during the course program, you will be building your portfolio along with your mentor and tutor, and developing real-world projects that you build as your journey progresses. So maybe I'll just ask the question: how important do you think the portfolio is, and what comments did you get whilst you were putting it together from your mentor? And I will ask this one to Júlia first.
It's absolutely crucial, actually. All the jobs that I got were because of the portfolio that I built. They mentioned, the clients that I got mentioned many times how happy they were about how pixel perfect it was, how the concept was well thought through, the presentation of the portfolio. So it was definitely very, very important. My tutor and my mentor were super supportive and were very, very involved in the development of my app. So yeah, I have to thank them extremely for.
What was your app, Júlia?
I created an app for discovering beaches around you and being able to know which kind of water sports you can do in each of these areas. Yeah.
Did you use it? Did you use your own app to do the stand-up paddleboarding?
It's actually totally crazy. I went back home in La Costa Brava, close to Barcelona, and I was walking on the street in Bagur, which is a really beautiful city there. And there was they had developed an app with very similar features to mine. I was fascinated. I was like, well, the UX research worked. So, which was telling the capacity of the beaches and also what you can do in each of the beaches. So, I was stoked to find that something like that was also developed by someone else. And I was super much, imagine 6 months closed at home looking at beach pictures, and but I was back home, all I did was just enjoy it.
And Frank, how did your portfolio progress over the time of the course?
It took me, I think it took me about 2 months until I would say this is a portfolio I want to show someone. Also, I have to say my tutor Henrietta and my mentor Olga, they helped me a lot, both. They gave me feedback. I also handed in the last portfolio to my tutor again, so she was so nice to take a second look at it when the mentor approved it already. So that's also a thing which is not like they don't have to do that, but they were just intrigued to help me out. And as Júlia said, the portfolio is crucial, but I knew that, and that kind of put pressure on me. So I wanted to have it perfect the first time. And that is not working, because usually when you do an app for the first time, or when you try to create anything the first time, it's not kind of turning out as you want it to. So you have to do a lot of iteration. You have to take a lot of feedback. So I shared it with many people. I got a lot of feedbacks. Most of it was really helpful. Some of it was really aggressive and really hard on my nerves, because people were complaining about contents, or like, I don't like that app, I don't like that screen, it looks ugly, or I don't know what. It's just, there's personal preference, and then there is constructive feedback. And but that is also part of the course. We learn how to give and take feedback. And what I would say to people who give feedback, try to be reasonable and nice, and not just say what you like or don't like, because that doesn't help. That might always just hurt. And while creating the portfolio, combine that with the job prep course, because I had a huge struggle in creating the case studies for my portfolio pieces. And then afterwards, I did the job prep course, and it described how you do a case study. And then I was like, oh, would I have known that earlier? So yeah, this is why CareerFoundry also offers to start in the job prep course early on.
I have to say for a second about the challenges. Now something came to my mind. I thought that the UX course, it was very challenging to do the UI if you didn't have any like UI background. And my mentor gave me an amazing tip, which was to access the read-only UI course and to start preparing a little bit in advance. So I did that, and that was absolutely crucial to have a better portfolio, just for anyone who starts the course.
Yeah, same the other way around. So if you, as a UI design student, learn something about UX, I didn't take the reading access to the UX course for it, but I just tried to read articles, and I bought a book on how to create case studies and how to do UX properly. Then this also helps a lot because if you want to be hired, people will also look at the UX part of a UI designer. And I think the other way around similarly.
Let's shift the focus a little bit because both Júlia and Frank did the course with a Bildungsgutschein, which is German for training voucher, which is issued by the German employment agency. So both the UX and UI design programs you can do with a training voucher. You will get given when you're registered in Germany and you go to the German employment office, you will get an Ansprechpartner, so somebody who is you're kind of call to, and they will talk about kind of like your career options, but they will also have the ability to issue a training voucher for our courses. It is done on a case-by-case basis though, so we can't really say what they will say. But as I said before, we will be sending out PDFs, and there is lots of information on the CareerFoundry blog about how you can apply for a training voucher. But I would just ask maybe Júlia first, what was your experience about applying for a training voucher? Or maybe just take us through the steps so that anybody who's listening, who's thinking about applying for a CareerFoundry course with a training voucher might understand just a little bit about the process.
It was actually super easy because you guys have a document that explains how to do it. And I followed those steps, which was, I think, first I had to go on several job platforms and enter UX or design, and then print the amount of offers that there were, which were a lot of offers, to prove that there's a demand. Then I had to get in touch with you guys, and you would make me a personalized offer. And then I had to have a few documents there just to take some documents. I can't remember exactly which were, but just basic documents. And then I arrived to the room, and I talked to my Ansprechpartner, and I just told her, look, I want to do this because of these reasons, and here are all the documents. And she said, okay. That was it. I had the Bildungsgutschein within half an hour. It was really easy.
It is very much dependable on who you get there, and not everybody knows about CareerFoundry. Of course, it's an option, so you do actually have to inform whoever is your spokesperson there. You do have to inform them about the course, but it is definitely an option. You just have to talk.
She did know the course already.
Oh, okay. They already knew.
Yeah, and she already she warned me that it was going to be a lot of work, and and she also made really, I mean, it is, what's tough about doing it with the Agentur for Arbeit is that they make sure that you can't leave Berlin, theoretically. You have to submit 3 exercises a week. But hey, I mean, you got paid for a great course, so I was happy to do that.
And I would pass the same question over to Frank. So Frank, just talk us through your experience with getting a training voucher.
Yeah, so I would say there are 3 points I would mention for how to get through with the Ansprechpartner. So I was also really lucky. It was a very nice woman, and I think she liked me immediately. And that is one point. If they like you, you might have an easier time. I can't just speak for myself, but I've heard of other people, they talked about immediate discomfort or something, and then it was harder to talk to them. So the 3 points I would say would be that you have to be very precise in general, because in Germany, authorities, they stick to their rules, they like their rules, and if you follow the instructions CareerFoundry gives you, and if you also try to stick to all the guidelines from Agentur für Arbeit, then they are happy because they feel respected and they feel that you put work into it and effort. The second one, I hate to say that, but I did have a feeling because I am German, I had an easier time. I don't know if that is a thing, but for example, like German treats to be overly punctual, to speak their language, because my Ansprechpartner, she didn't speak one single word of English, so she couldn't even understand the English course guidelines, so I had to have them in German too, because CareerFoundry offers them in German. So I would say if you're not a native speaker, maybe you could ask a friend or someone who speaks German to support you. And the third one is to be nice to people, because you want something from them. You want to pay for your course, so you should try to suit them. You should not be submissive, but nice. And don't insist. Don't insist on giving something to you which you clearly are not, you cannot pressure.
Exactly. I mean, it's fantastic that Germany has the funds to be able to retrain people and to give them the skills to rejoin the jobs market. I would say that all the courses that we offer are in English, but for any language learner, I mean, I've been living abroad for 10 years. It's always good to start that first, say the first sentence in German before you break out into the English is probably is good etiquette, I would say, going forward. I think we should there's some questions coming in from people, and I think we should answer a couple of the questions which are coming in. Let's go straight to number 1. So did you do the course full time? I would ask that to Júlia. Yeah.
I did, yes. I did it full time. That's why it's tougher. If you do it part time, then it's easier, I think.
And how long did it take you?
It should have taken me 6 months, but it took me 4.5. But I pushed really hard.
I didn't do the course full time, and it eventually took me even longer. So I'm the complete opposite of Julia's situation. So I didn't work, and I took the part-time course. I talked to the advisor at Arbeitsamt that I can always go faster if I need to, but I also got the recommendation that it's really tough, and so I thought maybe I should just tone it down a little. And for me, it was good because then I could like figure out everything very slow. I think I would have made it faster if I had to. Yeah, but it could never hurt, I think, to go slow. I don't know. It's just that, so I took it part-time, and for me it was the right decision. I would do it again like that.
Just to quell any concerns, I've also had 2 friends who've done the course through the Agentur for Arbeit, one from Ireland and one from the UK, and they both also got the training vouchers. So although it's very case specific, you don't know who you're gonna who your partner's going to be at the Agentur for Arbeit, so you don't really know. So it's very much dependent upon who you get, whether you're speaking German or English. But I would say always start off the first sentence in German and then see how it goes from there. But I will ask another question. So a second question that's come through is, I think we touched on this a little bit before, but what projects did you work on during the boot camp? So, and did these help you in the interviews? So Júlia, I would pass that back over to you, maybe with a slight more on the interview side.
So I worked on I actually never finished it because like when you finish the course and you look at the first project and you're like, what did I do there? And then you want to start again. So the first one was a vocabulary app. And the second one was an app related to like searching for beaches and water sports around you. And to be honest, like the right person to ask the interview questions to is Frank, because I decided to go freelance because before I finished the course, I already had freelance work, and yeah, I wanted to look for a job, but freelance found me, and so I only had one interview, which was with CareerFoundry, because I don't know if Will knows, but I'm a tutor as well at CareerFoundry.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really? Cool.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. So I had an interview in beginning of September, and now I'm tutoring. So yeah, I do that part-time, and then I've had interviews with other clients as a freelance. But I think it's very different from like getting a job. And also, I think the interviews that I've had with clients, they knew my background of like my former company, and that gave me credibility. And of course, I mean, but at the same time, they were impressed by my portfolio, and they wanted to get a product. They want to get a product that looks at least as good as my portfolio. So, yeah.
No pressure there.
No pressure.
No pressure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the great thing about just more generally about the portfolio is, like I said before, is your calling card. But the great thing is that you put this thing together. You know exactly what's in it, and also when you're before an interviewer, you can really talk through every step that you took on the way. So it's almost like you've already rehearsed for it, because you know how you prepared it, you know how you put it together, you know the projects that you've worked on, and then you're just basically storytelling about how you came to produce this kind of takeaway that you had. So maybe it's a little bit less intimidating than you think, because you know a lot more than the people sat in front of you in the interview. Yeah,
I mean, what I realize now is before taking the course, I didn't have like a structured idea of what the process was. Like, I could create an app, but I wasn't clear about all the steps. And now I know exactly what I'm doing. It's like everything is in a box, you know, like it's in place. So yeah, I mean, I felt I didn't have a problem talking to clients. Actually, I could take them through the whole design process. I knew where to start. With whatever product I would be working on. So it's yeah, I mean, I felt very confident in all the interviews that I've had. I mean, all the interviews. Can you call an interview when you have like a freelance client that you have to convince? I don't know if that is an interview, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe if I can say something about the interview,
Yeah, for sure.
the interviews I've encountered. So I got a design challenge recently, and that was a really interesting thing for me to do, that design challenge, because I was feeling insecure about really knowing the process as Julia just described. So if you want to create an app, then you do that in the course, and then you get presented with all the steps you have to take. And now I did the design challenge, and actually every single step came back into my mind, although I was scared of it, but I then knew how to start the process. I got a search for inspiration. I did some quick sketching. I then went into wireframing in Balsamic. I then put it into Sketch. And then it was really fast and really easy for me to do that design challenge. I even handed them over a small case study afterwards, and they were completely impressed for it. In the end, unfortunately, it turned out they were searching for a senior designer, which was a little strange because they didn't tell me up front. But anyway, the design challenge turned out great. And that is also, so the portfolio is really so and so for employers. On the one hand, there are the ones, they just look at your portfolio and then they pick the first thing they like, which is mostly the first thing you offer. So be precise and be aware that the first project you have so the last uploaded project you have will be the one most people will look at. And then what I got asked a lot is, do you have a real project? So they know you did a boot camp, and then they want to have some real work experience. I always try to shift that question around with telling them that for me it was a real project and it felt like real life. And then I try to get the discussion into a direction about what I did in the job before. So they have real life experience, but in another kind of work I did. And I did upload one very, very small project from my old work, which I just show them then and say, this is a real project. I did that. It's not UI, but so I would advise you to have one semi-real example in the interview process, and then go deep into your projects from CareerFoundry, because if you tell them about it in a real professional way, they will be happy with it, although it's not a real life project.
One concern that we have, or one thing we have, lots of our graduates deal with a thing called Imposter Syndrome, which I've talked about before on our Instagram channel. This is, you finish the boot camp and then suddenly you're meant to be a UI designer or a UX designer, and then you've got to start applications. But this is not the case, because you do have our support network, as I said before, and you also have unlimited access to our career services team and the support that they offer after you've completed the program. But Frank and Julia, what advice would you give to anybody that has maybe like an imposter syndrome? Are they a UX designer once they've done the boot camp?
Yes. If you did the boot camp, you know something. You know a lot, actually. And you don't have to hide that. Don't you agree, Julia?
Yeah, I just think, we were not born yesterday, any of us, anyone doing the boot camp. Many of the skills that we've been using during the bootcamp are skills that we had from before. So it's important to remember that you didn't learn absolutely everything new, and you went through the bootcamp. So you know what you're doing.
Yeah. And if I learned from my mentor, also a very good tip from my job preparation mentor now, that you try to be as honest and try to bring out yourself as much as possible, because then you have nothing to be afraid of. So if you just talk about who you really are and what you really do and what you really know, then I don't think there is a thing you have to fear of being surprised or yeah.
Yeah, and of course, every designer is permanently growing. So it's, as in any profession, you're permanently growing. So I think that Imposter syndrome. Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I mean, I did feel a little bit like that when I finished the course, but then as soon as I got a freelance job and I saw that I could do it, then it was gone.
That's interesting. I do suffer from it from time to time still. I mean, as long as you don't have a job, then you still feel like nobody's appreciating your work. But that is actually also not the case. There are lots of people appreciating it. It's just that you're not a fit for the company, or there are other reasons apart from not being good enough.
I kind of liken it to driving a car, because the courses, the programs that we offer, you gain the core skills. I mean, the skills that you're doing on the program are what a UX or UI designer would be doing. They're in-demand skills. You're putting them into practice, and you're building a portfolio just like any other UX or UI designer on the market. So it's kind of like driving a car. You know, you do the driving test and you get to that certain stage. But you know, once you land that job and once you're working in the industry, you'll find out that, you know, every day you're learning on the job. And the industry is also changing. As our programs change, the updates of our curriculum team, but you know, you will always find that there's, you know, 6 months down the road, the things that you've learned are probably not the things that you were doing six months ago. It's continuously changing.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true for anybody working in the industry, and it's also a lot of the feedback that we hear from our graduates. You know, they graduate from the course, but you know, they're fledgling designers and they're in companies, but of course they're learning all the time as they go through.
I dedicate a lot of time to reading. And that really helps too. No, seriously, if you take it seriously and say, okay, I don't know everything, but I'm going to read every day so that every day I learn something new, then I mean, as long as you take care of that, it's the best you can do.
I wanted to also talk about a general point here, which I feel like designers are do encounter a lot, is that this feeling of not being good enough is because many people have an opinion about design, although they might not be from, they don't have the background to judge. For example, if you build rockets, then nobody would judge what you do because nobody has any idea of how to build a rocket. But design is very visual and everybody likes beautiful things. So people feel like they can get involved. But you always have to try to think of, you are the expert, you are the designer here, and everybody is just sharing their feedback, but you decide, or you have the background of knowing what is a good design.
Another question that's come through, which is a little bit different, is do you think it's relevant to integrate other projects into your UX case studies in your portfolio, for instance? Visual design or maybe data visualization to get a UX design job. So would you go a little bit beyond maybe your comfort zone or add some other aspects in?
That's a great idea. Yeah, I would always do things that are different from the other competitor.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you want to go into a very specific direction, then you should try to stick to what you want to do. I uploaded a graphic design job that I did that looked really good because I wanted to show that I could also do like graphic design and beautiful things, go more into like also brand and so on. And that has helped me actually. But my mentor mentioned that if I didn't want to get graphic design jobs, that I should put it away, like just do UX. But yeah. For me, it has worked, but I think you have to be strategic about what you put in your portfolio.
If you really want to know, if you really know what you want, then you should definitely just go in one direction. If you want really to be just a UX designer, then it's great. But But
don't you think that I have the feeling that in the current job market, the more specific you are, or more specialized you are, the more chances you have to get a job. That is my feeling.
Do you think that's changed because of the current corona pandemic? Do you think the job market has changed?
In the UX field, I don't know, because I didn't look for jobs as a UX designer before. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But what I find that is very clear in UX is that and UI is that they want UX designers to be able to do UI, and they want UI designers to be able to do some UX. So of course, there's spots for like there's job offers for UX researchers too, but there's not as many as UX UI designers.
When I search for jobs, I do also try to not be too specific and not be too focused on one single description, because I think some companies don't really know the difference, for example, between UX and UI. So if you have a UX UI offer, then I do apply sometimes, and I do also apply for graphic design jobs because I think it improves my chances of finding a job in the end. Because if I would limit myself to just junior UI positions, there are about a handful right now, and that is just, the chances are really low. So I think I did change my point of view because of Corona and this situation. So I have to be more broad and search for other jobs, also for research jobs and writing jobs, because I might want to work in the industry more than to work in design.
I want to point out something about your strategy, Frank. That Frank was pretty smart in the way that he's got a lot of interviews. I mean, apart from having a good portfolio, he was very strategic on the way he was searching for jobs, and his USP was that he's a German native speaker. And there are there's some companies that want to speak German, so he went on and applied for the companies that wanted native German speakers. So I think that it's important to try to analyze a little bit the market and see what your USP is, and try to apply to those that fit better to who you are. So yeah, I mean, he got a lot of interviews. Honestly, I got one and I got the job, which was the CareerFoundry, and then the other ones were freelance clients. But I didn't get many interviews. I wasn't so strategic about applying for jobs. And don't click on easy apply either, because that doesn't take you anywhere.
I would also agree, yeah.
It's always, I think you'll also find this from the career services team, but for every job that you apply for, it is so much better to tailor each job to that specific company. Easy apply, it is easy in that it only takes 10-30 seconds, but I was also unemployed at some position, and it'll never work out. You'll never just get it. So take the time out, schedule some time, and write a descriptive, specific application for a company, and that will put you in a lot better stead than just clicking that easy apply button, even though it's very tempting.
It is tempting. I did it, but because I just want to. The thing I had was that I'm sometimes too scared to apply, so it takes me a lot of time to write a cover letter, and then I lose interest where it just takes me too much time. So I clicked the easy apply button, but then I scheduled a time where I create a real application for the company, and so I send out both. Because also a friend of mine told me that easy apply is not gonna work, so I tried to just combine that and lowering anxiety levels.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who's got a job through easy apply, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are some cases out there. One other question that's come through is to do with coding. Did you find that or have you got any background in coding, or have you studied coding, or do you think it's beneficial for a UX or a UI designer?
I learned on my own HTML and CSS. I know some of it. I forgot half of it because I haven't used it for a really long time. It's been really useful for me to work with developers. So I think it is great to learn how to do it. Also, if you know how to develop the products that you've designed, then you have many more chances to get a job. And actually, my goal is within the next 2 or 3 years to actually do the web development course, because first of all, I'm interested in it and I like it. I've always liked coding, but also I think I will have eventually many more chances to get a job if I want to stop freelancing.
Yeah, we spoke a lot about UX and UI design tonight, but we also do offer courses, programs in data analytics and web development for anyone that missed that at the beginning. But how did you know that, I mean, it's kind of hard to know which skills to learn. I mean, the job market is massive. I mean, there's so many skills that you can learn. How did you actually know that UX or UI was a thing? Did it pop up on your radar, or did you just see it on the job boards, or how did you actually find UX UI?
Well, I was doing actual UX work without knowing there was UX. So I was Googling a lot about personas and user research. And then eventually, and I was really enjoying it. And then eventually I started getting CareerFoundry ads on my Instagram account. And then I was like, oh, so actually all of this is UX. I started reading your blog. So yeah, I mean, when I was developing, when I was doing product design, I was doing it mostly from the business perspective, but also, I mean, I did have the user in mind, but because I knew the user very well, but I didn't do actual research on it. And then at some point I was really stuck. I was stuck and I couldn't go forward, and I was really, really frustrated. And I just didn't have the tools. So the moment that I realized that UX design was actually a thing, then I realized it was like the answer to my questions. So I was pretty happy and relieved that it existed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did hear about UX design from a friend who worked as a UX designer at Zalando at that time. And he brought me, so we had a coffee in his office one evening, and I really loved the office. I loved the atmosphere there. They had this great coffee machine and all the Post-its on the walls. And I was really intrigued, like, what are you doing here? And he was trying to explain that to me. I didn't get it for several days, so he had to explain it in depth, what he really does. And so that's when I got really into the UX. And then I found out that there is this famous meeting from IXDA Berlin, where people are standing in line on Christmas. And so this is about interaction. And yeah, then I also started Googling, and I ended up reading the difference between UX and UI design article from your blog, which is, I think, one of the most read articles that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is how I got into the idea of UX design. And then I bought the book from Don Norman, which really opened my eyes. Like, oh, you can do products that are useful and look great, and they also work. How? Why? That was amazing to hear.
Yeah, we also have a lot of Post-it notes in the CareerFoundry office, or we did have before we moved remotely because of the corona. So I think Post-it notes are losing a lot of money at the moment. I think it's reaching the 1 hour mark, and I think I would wrap it up now. Thank you very, very much, Julia and Frank, for joining us this evening. It is always a pleasure to host graduates of our programs. And as I said, Julia and Frank both organise Design and Friends. So I don't know, maybe there could be a remote Design and Friends at some point, which people might see in some forum or another. For anybody that is interested in one of the CareerFoundry programs that we offer, after this webinar, there will be a booking page where you can book a call with a program advisor if you have any questions about the programs we offer, or any other questions about Bildungsgutschein or anything else. We will also be sending out follow-up emails with PDFs, which go into a little bit more detail on how to apply and different bits and bobs. But yes, Julia and Frank, thank you so much for attending this evening. I hope you've had dinner, or we're about to have dinner soon.
Soon.
Soon, yeah.
And yeah, until next time.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Bye.